You're in a job interview and things are going really well, and then the recruiter asks, what are your salary expectations? That question stops a lot of mid-career professionals cold. And in that moment, most people do one of two things. They throw out a number that's too low because they don't want to price themselves out, or they say, I'm flexible in an effort to push out the conversation without answering it. I'm Danielle Bradley. I'm a career coach for mid-career professionals, and today I want to talk about how to answer this question without lowballing yourself, but also not get yourself screened out. The truth is that how you answer this question sets the tone for what comes next. As I love to say, the negotiations start before the negotiation starts. The salary expectation question comes up quite often early on in the job interview process. And the timing of that is really intentional. Companies want to know if they can afford you. And they want to do that before they spend more time investing in you. That part is fair. But the tricky part is that most professionals feel pressured to answer with a number that they haven't prepared. And under pressure, especially if you've been in transition for a while, that number tends to be on the low side. People will quote what they were making at their last job or their current job, or they'll say a number that feels safe, or they'll say a number that they think the recruiter wants to hear. And that number becomes the starting point for everything that follows. Once you've said it, it's hard to walk it back. Now, the opposite is trying to dodge the question completely, saying I'm flexible or it depends on the full package. Sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. Recruiters ask this question because they need an answer in order to move forward. If you push too hard against giving an answer, you might come across as evasive, or you can stall the process. A better approach is to give a thoughtful answer based on research that gives them what they need and protects your position. Now, I want to make a quick side note here. Many companies these days will have published a range in the job posting due to transparency laws where they're located. In that case, you can simply say when asked, I saw the range that was posted on the job description and it's within my range. Of course, if the role is not within your range, then that's not something that's going to work. But if it is within your range, it's a simple answer that alleviates their need to know if they're able to afford you. If the salary range was not posted, you can ask a very quick question, and it goes something like this. I'm curious, what is the salary range for this position? They may tell you, but if they don't, you need to be prepared with providing them with an answer. So let's talk about how do we prepare for this before the question comes up. This is the most important work before you even have an initial screening interview. By the time the question comes, you should know exactly how you plan to answer it. Do your research. Look at what the market supports for this role at this level in your location. You can use LinkedIn Salary, Glassdoor, levels.fyi for tech roles, or also Robert Half published a salary guide that's super helpful. You also want to talk to people in your network at your same level, get an idea of what the compensation is like. And then from that research, you want to develop a range that's going to work for you. The bottom of the range should be a number that you would genuinely be comfortable accepting. The top should be ambitious but defensible. When you walk into the screening interview or any other interview prepared with that information, that question stops being something that you dodge. It becomes something that you can answer directly and confidently. So here's a framework that works really well. When the question comes up, you can answer it something like this. Based on my research into market rates for this role and the scope of what's involved, I'm targeting a range of X to Y. I'd also want to understand the full package before getting too specific. A few things are happening when you answer in this way. You're giving them a number, so you're not stalling the conversation, and you're framing it as research-based, not an arbitrary number. And you're giving a range rather than a single number, which gives you room to negotiate later. You're also signaling that compensation is more than just the base salary. Another option, if you don't know enough about the role at this stage, is to answer something like this. I'd love to understand the scope of the role and the full package a bit more before sharing a specific number. Can you share the range you have budgeted for this position? If they give you a range, great. If they push back and ask again, then that's when you need to be prepared to give them an answer. There's something that I want to flag very specifically here. Many mid-career professionals default to what they were making either in their last role or even making in their current role. A lot of the times, that's a mistake. Your last salary reflects what one company pays for what you're doing right now or what you just did if you're in transition. It may not reflect the market value for what you're able to do now or what you want to do next, especially if you are or were underpaid, or if you're moving to a higher level position or changing industries. So the number should be based on what the market pays for what you want to do next, not what you have or are currently making. If a recruiter asks you specifically what you were making at your last job or what you're currently making, you can answer honestly, but you don't have to use that as an anchor. But also be mindful that depending on where you live, employers may face restrictions on asking about your salary history. Regardless, I encourage you to focus on the conversation on the value of the role and the compensation required for your next move, rather than what you've earned in the past. One of my clients was asked the salary question in the very first interview, which is really common. She had done her research and had a range prepared that was based on what similar roles would pay for what she was looking for in her area. She gave the range calmly, framed it around her research, and asked about the company's budget for the role. The recruiter shared a range that was higher than what her research had demonstrated, and the conversation moved forward. By the time she got to the offer stage, the company was negotiating from the upper range, not from the bottom of her range. The preparation that she did before the first call protected her position for the rest of the process and set her up for amazing negotiations. The salary expectation question is not something to dodge or wing in the moment. Remember, this is a business transaction. It's something to prepare for the same way that you would prepare for any other interview question. Do the research and develop a range that will reflect the value that you bring. Practice saying it out loud calmly. And remember, the number that you give early on in the process often serves as a ceiling for everything that comes after. Subscribe for more career advice for mid-career professionals. And if you'd like some support for your job search and negotiation approach, I invite you to book a Get Hired strategy call with us. The link is in the description below. And watch this video next, the salary negotiation mistake that's costing you thousands. The link is in the description below as well. I'll see you in the next video.